Hey, this is Coach Rod with a review of our third week of classes. That's a week that starts on Monday, January 24th. I know it's been an interesting week. We met Monday. We had a great time. We had a quiz, which I'll talk about later, and how how people's grades are doing. Anyway, Wednesday, with the forecast of the crazy wind chill advisory that was advising down to maybe 20 below zero wind chill. I think it got down to about minus 2 degrees Fahrenheit on the, let's say, barn wall. So, yes, we did that. I got a couple of miscellaneous things here. I want to give a shout out to Dr. Clark. You can see his name right there on his shirt. He started Creekside Animal Hospital. I used him all his career. Passed away recently. Then I had some students ask me what I was doing here. I think this is a picture that pops up on my website sometimes. Sorry. And that's me in graduate school. I was a PhD student when I was doing this surgery. It's on swine. You can see where the gilt in this case, these are all gilts, is in a dorsal recumbency on the surgery table, and then the table lifts up to about a 45-degree angle, so the head is down here beyond the picture. This is the rear end of the animal, so I could say caudal, cranial, and then of course when the animal is laying down like this, this is the right side of the animal, and this is left, okay? And this little tube here is bringing carbon dioxide into the abdominal cavity. And as that is flowing, I'm making, you can't hardly see it, but I have a scalpel here, and I'm going to make 2 more incision sites where we're going to put a laparoscopic apparatus in one hole and then a manipulator in another. And so it's laparoscopic surgery. So what I'm doing here is, here's the definition. Sorry. Laparoscopic surgery is a surgical technique in which short, narrow tubes, and these are called trocars, are inserted into the abdomen through small little incisions. Then through these trocars, you have a long instrument inserted. In one case, one of the trocars allowed a laparoscope in, which is like a long telescope in a sense with a light source on the end, so you can illuminate what's going on in the abdominal cavity. And then the other incision allowed just like a little manipulator, so you could move things around in the abdominal cavity. And what we were doing for this surgery is we were looking for the number of ovulations. So we would count how many ovulations that we saw through the laparoscope, which doesn't show up in this picture at the moment. And then off to the left over here is another surgeon working on another pig gilt. And then we would count, tell a recorder quietly what we found on the left ovary and on the right ovary, the number of ovulations as indicated by the corpora lutea. And then I would move to the other pig. The other surgeon would come to my pig, and we would count, and we would see if we would agree on the number of ovulations on the left and on the right. If we didn't, we'd both have to recount. So then, I hate to have this sad thing, but it makes a point. Recently, from an area where I'm very familiar with, there were 4 people that died near the border as a result of human smuggling. And this is up on the Canadian-U.S. border. It ends up being really almost right on the Canadian-Minnesota border and Canadian-North Dakota border. There's like a little spot there that would be possible. And these 4 people were found deceased. I'm going to show you a picture. It was family of 4. Really sad. But you can see from the picture that they include, it's like there's nothing up there. That on that border, there is nothing. You can walk for miles and not find anybody. And so you can see that from here. I'm looking at out here. And then if you do live in that area, you have an incredibly heavy parka with a huge hood with a stocking cap and gloves that will keep you warm. And this guy, I'm sure, it might be a gal too, so I'm not sure. This looks maybe big enough to be a guy. He's got long johns on too, thermal underwear. So unfortunately, a human smuggler somehow talked these people into getting up near the border and then walking into the United States. I don't know the whole backstory, but let me tell you from being from that area, it's brutal and it's deadly. Here's the beautiful people that died. That's sad. They were let out of some van, as I understand it, told that they could walk across the border, and then maybe there was a house that they could go into, and then, I'm not sure how this all works. But it's terrible. 4 beautiful people, and it's very sad. I hate to do those sad things, but, there are lessons to be learned. If you're ever up in that area, don't go off any place off the beaten path. You can get stuck. It's brutal. Neighbors are far away. If you die, the next day your body will be found frozen solid, all the way to the core. Anyway, so on the website, I've added these toxicants and toxins that we are going to look at next time we get together. And sweet clover is very interesting. There's not a whole lot of sweet clover in Indiana. It has yellow and white flowers. It grows very tall. But out west, you'll find it growing, and people do cut it and use it for forage for the winter time for cattle. When you're out west and, there's a high yield, it's not high quality, it's not like alfalfa. But it's very interesting, and animals can die of moldy sweet clover. And then, of course, there's aflatoxin, and then there's these pet food recalls, melamine, which is an artificial product, basically. We're going to learn about mare reproductive loss syndrome, which is a terrible name, MRLS. But a lot of times when something is first discovered, it's given a crazy name. Like if it's got syndrome, that means like saying there's a whole bunch of things going on, but we don't know yet what it is. Then I thought blister beetles were interesting, killing horses. As far as toxicants and toxins. And then for our missing lecture on Wednesday for the wind chill thing, just do these 2 things. They are actually about the above topics, something that I would say in class. Now I want to go back to sweet clover poisoning because it's very interesting that, sorry, I forgot one thing. I was going to say the difference between toxins and toxicants. So here's my take, and this is probably the best definition. Toxins are natural products, okay? And then toxicants are man-made products. Not everybody agrees with that definition, but Rod does. And if Rod grades quizzes, then this is probably the definition you should probably know. Okay? So I'm going to get rid of that. And then I want to come back again to the sweet clover poisoning. And to say, give a shout out to the faculty member that taught me my animal physiology and other things. So that's what I'm doing here. I want to give a shout out to I.A. Shipper, who was a veterinarian on the staff at North Dakota State University. Nobody in the animal science department taught physiology when I was an undergraduate there. This is when I was an undergraduate. But the vet science department had veterinarians that would teach, like Physiology 1, Physiology 2, very similar to our ANSI 230 course, which, by the way, I originated. Anyway, I.A. Shipper was a great guy, great veterinarian, great teacher. I still remember going up to that room in their building. Their building was old and creaky and let a lot of wind in when it was winter. But he had a great attitude. I think his first name was Ivan. He's crossed over now. But Ivan was something else. And I want to give him a shout out for one of the things he told us. He was always joking with us, kind of like what I joke with my students. You just got to have a good mental attitude. So here's what Ivan Shipper, Dr. Shipper, said to us one day. And he was famous for pop quizzes. So you go in there and you're not sure if you have a quiz or a lecture or whatever. So here's what Shipper did one day. I.A. Shipper. He told us. He goes, one time a couple years ago I gave a quiz and I said, I want to pass out this little quizzy, he called it. And the students took the little quizzy, and then as they left, they passed the quiz back to him so he could grade them. And this one girl walks up and looks him straight in the eye and says, "If this is your little quizzy, I'd hate to see your big testy." And off she stormed. And he always told that for years after that happened. And he was just, chuckling about it. He never took it offensively. He just enjoyed the woman's, what? Bravery? I don't know. Bravery? No, that's not the right word. Her take on his little quizzies, I guess. I'm not sure. Okay. See you guys for week 4. Be good. Stay warm. And don't wear your shorts in this weather. That's for sure.